Oh my goodness. Walking through that crowd with Kelly Boy DeLima is the hardest and most impossible thing. But I remember him just, if I get there at 8:30, I get there at 8:30. If I don't, then I'm going to start late, and that's what it is. But I'm not going to snob all these hundreds of people on my way to getting to the other stage. These are the people that's going to show up at my stage,
Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Iokeehu, and this is Hawaii Real. Today's guest, special from the Big Island, from the Kapena group, KALENAKU.
Aloha, everyone.
Thank you for coming on, KALENAKU.
Of course, my privilege.
Your privilege.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here today.
That's awesome. That's awesome that you were. So you guys were out here on Oahu, just for a few days doing shows?
We were here for a couple days. It's been so weird during the pandemic. So many things have shut down. And so I think my last formal performance was March 26th. But since then, I've been kind of locked up. I mean, everyone has. And coincidentally, this past weekend, we had 2 performances in one day, which we have not had since prior to the entire shutdown. So I'm not as conditioned as I used to be. But we did have 2 shows. We had a fundraiser event for a school out in Kapena, and it was really, really nice. It was kind of like a drive-in concert, which was super innovative. They did a really good job. It was cool to see everybody kind of sitting in their cars with their
everybody jamming
coolers.
in their cars.
Yeah. And it was, and then they also had Zoom set up as well. So there was like this whole camera crew, making it available for other people who couldn't physically be there. And then after that performance, we had one at Hawaiian Brian's. It was a public event, and that was different too. So, everybody...
Yeah, you were telling me there's like plexiglass between you?
There was plexiglass on the whole stage, and, everybody's table is 6 feet apart, and everyone's dancing in their chairs. So it was definitely different, but it was nice to hear a live audience applause again. That's got to be special. Yeah, it's been kind of weird. For the last 8 months, we've been going live on Facebook and Instagram. And I know a lot of musicians have been, doing that thing just to get their fix of performing. But it's so weird. You finish like this high energy song and it's like quiet.
Is it kind of like you're in a studio again?
I kind of, but I think like we're just so used to, like for a studio, you're usually performing one specific thing at a time. So it's not like a full band at the same time. And so that was that was nice and refreshing to actually hear a live applause, because we're so used to just seeing everybody's comments on, Instagram Live or Facebook Live where they're like, oh, I love that song. But it was actually nice to hear people saying, oh, I love this song, or at least mouthing it.
That's awesome. So it's like you're watching on your computer screen, all the thumbs up.
Yep. All the hearts and
the hands,
all that stuff.
Emojis and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's some kind of interaction. It's what we've got to deal with for the time being. But yeah.
You got to put like a clapping noise for the likes and everything like that.
Yeah. At least something that we could hear. Yeah. Would be nice. But
somebody out there develop that, please.
Yeah. Where we can make our own clapping noise, I guess. Maybe we'll do that and hold up applause signs to my mom, who's in the background usually.
Get like 2 or 3 people clapping.
Yeah. My mom and my sister's husband. Applause.
Yay. So you mentioned something about getting that fix.
Yeah.
What is that about?
Yeah. I think, in general, I feel like a lot of people have been suffering some depression and some hard times during the COVID pandemic. For musicians, especially, music for us is very therapeutic. For me, I've always grown up going to school. I started performing when I was very young. My first steady performance was in Waikiki, and I was 11 years old. And I was performing with my dad and my brother at the time. And it was just the 3 of us playing in Waikiki. And but it was kind of regimented where I would go to school in the day and then perform at night. And then in college, same thing, college during the day, perform at night. And then when I graduated, it was work during the day, perform at night. And for me, it was a full-time schedule. And I know a lot of people kind of were like, oh my gosh, when do you sleep? But for me, performing at night was kind of, when everyone gets home from a long day at work and you turn the TV on, it's like our way of like winding down. For us, I know we perform as a family in the group Kapena. It's my dad, my brother, and my sister, and myself. And I know family business is kind of like a sketchy thing for a lot of people, but for us, family business and music business go really well together, actually. We all kind of like have our disagreements like any other family, but we'll show up to a show and I'll be annoyed with my brother, and then we'll play an hour set and all of a sudden I'm happy again, because music just does that. And so for me, it's always been very therapeutic, and that thing that kind of you can release and filter. And so not having that after doing it for 15 years every single day, not having it for 8 months has been really weird for me. And I found myself kind of having moments of some slight depression, where I was just...
That's big. That's going around a lot.
Is. And so it was times where I would just be like, oh, I just need to like sit at a piano and just play and sing, And for me, I know that's like my filter and my way to like get through whatever I'm getting through, is just that release that you get from performing. And I think in general, I think it's important that everyone find that thing that, they can run away to and release whatever is going on. For me, I realized during this pandemic that I was so fortunate to have that filter. It was like a part of my job. And only when I couldn't perform that job anymore did I realize, oh my gosh, I actually needed this more than for financial reasons. I needed this for emotional and, mental reasons as well, which I think were even more valuable than doing it for money. Now in retrospect, not having doing it for so long. And so I've had to, kind of adjust with the times and be able to actually set aside time where I'm like, okay, today I've got a couple hours free and I'm just going to sit at my piano and like get lost, Because
there's so many people that like surf is their hobby, their release, jogging, exercising outside, walking their dog or something like that. And for, quite a while, like we weren't allowed to do that here. And, I noticed when they did open up, so many people were going to the beach, going outside, finally jogging. People that had never gone to the gym before are finally outside working out, because they can. Yeah. And they weren't allowed to before. So
you realize how precious fresh air is.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, being cooped up inside was not fun.
Yeah, for anyone, I think. But
yeah, so with that, you guys also started the Kapena School of Music.
Yes.
And you were doing that in person, and then when the COVID hit, you started taking that more virtual?
Yes. So the Kapena School of Music has been a project I've been working on for a few years. We're hoping to begin as a nonprofit organization, but with hopes to also offer private lessons, individual and group. And I have been teaching with another performing arts school for about 3 years. And I initially didn't think I would like teaching very much. It kind of scared me. I thought, I need much more years and more accolades and more credentials to be able to, justify teaching someone's child how to do anything. And, there's always that fear, I think, coming into anything. But after about a year of anxiety, I realized how much I loved depositing into these students, but learning how much they also deposit into me. And I was just telling someone the other day, I feel like as an artist, it's so important to teach because you become so much better as an artist, like repeating the same thing over and over and over again. I'll tell my students something and then I'll go to a performance and I'll be like, remember that thing you told her? You better do it as well, jump on a stage and own it, or, whatever I'll say is you got to practice what you preach as well. So it's been something that I've really grown a huge passion for, and I've fallen in love with. But because of the whole pandemic, we've had to move all of our private classes virtually. So we have been on Zoom teaching, but the Kapena School of Music has not actually officially opened yet. We're still in the process of finalizing a space. We are finalizing our layout of the school, the website and registration process and all that stuff. So we're looking at opening in 2021. And I've been teaching for a few years, but my family this is new for everyone. So my dad is very excited to start teaching private ukulele, group ukulele. My brother is a huge talent. He plays every single instrument, and whatever instrument he doesn't play, I'll give him 30 minutes and he'll master it.
Wow.
He's that annoying kid. That's my brother.
You say he's annoying, but everybody else is like, oh, he's a savant. Like,
right.
He's really great.
Yeah. He's that one though, but I'm excited to see him kind of work in this capacity because my brother has always been my teacher and I've learned so much from him as well as my dad. And so to kind of see them, teach in this new capacity and be able to deposit into these, not just kids, but people's lives in this new place is it's really exciting for me. And my sister's dabbled in it. I've forced her to sub for me a few times when I was away. And so she's not new to the game. She knows what she's doing, but it'll be her first time teaching private bass lessons as well. So we're excited. We're in the process of getting everything finalized and we're hoping to open early next year.
Do you guys, for that school, do you guys have a motto or a focus that you guys are working on?
Yes. Our motto is be yourself, believe in yourself, and play loud is our official motto for the school. But the idea behind the school, it's called the Kapena School of Music. And for me, Kapena is such an important name. It was a name that was given to my dad by his dad. And I never met him. My dad's father, who is my grandfather, passed away when my dad was 18. And I never had the pleasure of meeting him, but my dad speaks very highly of him, credits a lot of his success and his startup in music to his dad. And the meaning of the name is captain of a boat or a ship or a plane. Interesting. Yeah. And it's kind of, that idea of being this leader in whatever realm you operate in. And it was always a very fitting name, I thought, for the band as one of the forefathers of island reggae. And, it's funny. My brother's name is Kapena. He's the oldest. And everybody asks, what came first, the band or the child, And the band came first. The band came about, I think, in 1985. And in 88, my brother was born. And my dad told me the story a few years ago that he named my brother Kapena because he wanted to remember that group that he had in high school. And so to remember it, he named his first son Kapena because...
So your dad started Kapena in high school?
He started in high school, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he was, I think his last year of high school, he competed in brown bags to stardom back in the day.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah. And so they performed under the name Kapena, and they picked up some small, they were performing at this free bar for a few years as Kapena, but he never thought it would last. He thought, in a couple years, this is going to die out and I'm going to get a real job.
So many bands do.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm going to get a real job. And, I want to remember this time that I had as, this group Kapena. So he named my brother Kapena. And lo and behold, 35 years later, the band is still in existence. I'm sure he could not have predicted that all his kids would, become his band members. And my brother has named his first son, my dad's first grandson, Kapena as well. So nice. It's kind of become this family name and this legacy. And so with starting the school, it was my hope to kind of bring that legacy into this new space where it just grows, where we can pass on this legacy, not just to our children, but to the children of Hawaii.
Yeah, it's almost like you guys or your father has created Hawaii's music royalty in that.
Thank you. Yeah. But yeah, something along those lines, and something that we hope to give to other people as well. What really inspired this was my nephew Na'i, or Kapena, and his sister Psalms, who is 1 year younger than him, now 9 and 8 years old. And my dad put all of us into music very, very young. He kind of like, he had this image in his mind of all his kids playing music with him. And to him, music has always been like, he says that music saved his life. And, he wanted that same joy for his kids. And so he put us all in music. And so now my niece and nephew are the next one up to bat. And so a few years ago, they both started taking private piano lessons. And I started posting it on my Instagram, short clips of them performing whatever song they were learning at the time, and hashtagging DeLima Bootcamp. And, that was kind of like the idea behind the whole thing, was that, the next generation is being trained up now, in this way and path that we all started on. And it kind of like became this thing where I kept hashtagging DeLima Bootcamp, and people started catching wind and thinking, or actually asking, like, are you guys actually going to like have a boot camp, or, start something like that?
Can I sign my kid up?
No, yeah, exactly. Can you take my kid to be in DeLima boot camp too? Can I drop them off at your house, or, so it became this kind of like running joke just amongst my personal followers on Instagram. And I was like, yeah, one day, but fast forward a few years later, and I realized, wow, that would be a great idea, to have people join in. Like I love people who are very willing to give their knowledge and their gifts and their talent. And I feel like if you are a person like that, you only get more in return, being able to give that knowledge. And so I believe that my family has so much to give to so many kids. And my brother has a degree in audio engineering, but none of us have formal, music degrees. But we have performed for years and years. We've all taken private lessons. And so I feel like that is, that alone could, we have something to pass.
But would you let like having or not having a music degree stop you from doing that?
No, definitely not.
Yeah, because in my mind, I'm thinking, no, you guys have far more experience than some of these professors.
Yeah.
Like you guys have been playing since you were little kids professionally.
Yeah.
And these professors, you could say they're the failed musicians. So.
Yeah. No, it's actually funny. My dad, when he was teaching us growing up, my dad plays ukulele strictly. He can dabble in like guitar and bass, but he never had any formal training at all. He was very much self-taught, or, taught from uncles on the beach, or just learned like lyrics to songs and stuff phonetically.
Very organically, yeah.
Yes. And so he, in that kind of journey and process, he developed his own style, and it's become very unique to him. But, I'll joke all the time, people don't know that about my dad because they see him perform on stage and it's so like just
natural to
yeah. It's such this natural gift that he's been given. And so I'll tell them, no, my dad doesn't know like anything. Like, when we were practicing growing up, he wouldn't know exactly what key we would be in. He would kind of like pound chromatically every single note on the piano until he found which one. And then he would hit it over and over and over and again and be like, it's this one, what is this called? What's that? And I'd be like, G, yeah, play that one, but not, not that. You got to, this one, and he'll pound another one and be like, that's the chord, but play that. And so it was this joke where like growing up, he couldn't explain things well. But he knew what it was, he knew what we were teaching. And of course, having 3 kids go through this whole process, he's learned a thing or two about how to teach. But in the beginning, it was kind of fun to watch him, just like bang every single note on the piano and try to figure out what And I think for me, like, I feel like that could even be better, you know.
It brings a real originality to it because he's figuring it out as he goes.
Yeah.
And he's not just copying somebody else. He's doing his own stuff.
Yeah. But I feel like so many of my students too, they just want to learn, like, you know, very organically in that same way, where it's just like, I just want to learn how to jam, you know. And that's a huge thing in Hawaii too, is just jamming, you know, being able to be the guy at the backyard paina who can pick up an ukulele and just sing anything, you know.
True.
And so I feel like so many people have just said, like, Kelly boy, I just want to grab an ukulele and sit next to you, you know, and just jam with you. And I feel like just that alone would deposit so much. And for me, I think it comes back to community and just, you know, family. We've always been a very, very strong family, with our own set of problems, of course. Like, we're not perfect, but, you know, it always comes back to that, where it's family and very community based and very much like giving back to people and giving back to communities. And I think that's what it's about at the core of it all, is just maintaining that feeling of community. In Hawaii too, I feel like it's so ingrained in our culture to be very community based, so aloha. And I feel like in the pandemic, it's been so weird, because normally, you know, when you see some, like, or you go to a gathering or something, you go kiss everybody hello and ask everybody how they're doing. And so, you know, now during this pandemic, it's this weird, like, what do I do? Do I pound it? Do I wave? Like, do you even want to be like within 99 feet of me? Like, you know what I mean?
The social rules have all changed.
And so I feel like just that alone is kind of changing the culture of, you know, this place. And at the core of it is family, you know, at the core of it is bringing people together and having that. And so I think my hope is to just be able to maintain that standard and that culture. So,
with all of that, what is the mark that you want to leave on this world?
Yeah.
You personally?
You know, I think that's such a good question to ask. I feel like when I was growing up, I had this different idea of success. And I remember years ago, I read this quote by Michelle Obama where she said, success isn't about money. It's about the difference you make in people's lives, or something like that. Something along those lines. And I remember reading the quote and thinking to myself, no, that's not true. Success is about money, you know? And
like, you need money in order to change people's lives. No.
Right. Yeah. And that was like, I remember reading that. I was like, okay, that's dumb, you know, like, or just kind of like writing it off. And, you know, in my journey and in learning so much, I've realized how true it is, where, you know, when you leave this world, you want to leave with people remembering you in that way, where they remember, you know, how kind you were, how giving you were. And I feel like my dad has always been a good example of that for me, where, you know, he just leaves this presence wherever he goes. And I heard someone tell me once, they were like, oh man, your dad came to perform for us years ago. And this was in Big Island, actually. They were like, your dad came to perform for us years ago, like 20 years ago, and we'll never forget it. And I remember him coming up to me and telling me, hey, what's up, brother? And it was like, when he said that, it was like he knew who I was, you know? And it's stuff like that where, like, you hear different things about, like, people in the industry, like even, you know, mainstream, like mainland actors and actresses and rock stars and stuff, where you'll hear some people say like, oh my gosh, that guy is so nice. Or you'll hear the opposite. Oh my gosh, that guy is such a jerk, you know? And for me, I think it's very important being in the public eye to be the first, like, you know, be that person who's very kind, who's always willing to give you like that time of day, or, and I think, back to the question, what I hope to leave, is that kindness that I've received, the gratitude that I've received, and giving that back to the world and to people, and especially to the next generation, so that they will carry that forward and have that same kindness and gratitude. And if there's anything that I think is worth leaving behind, it's that.
What's your favorite thing about your father?
I would say it's definitely that. I feel very grateful for my dad, and his kindness. And, you know, my dad is very much that guy who, like, if he doesn't have a minute to give you, he'll give you two, you know? And he's like, he will not, you know, he'll not rush anyone into, having to, sorry, let me rephrase that. He'll never like rush any kind of like meeting he'll have with anyone, or encounter is a better word. And I've seen him so many times where we're rushing from one performance to another. And my dad is the worst person to take anywhere. Okay. Because you are going to stop every like 2 steps, you're going to stop. And I remember one particular event we did, the Waikiki Ho'olauleo, which is incredibly packed all the time. We did 2 stages that year, and they were on opposite ends of Kalakaua Avenue. And so we got off stage on one at like 8 and had half an hour to get to the other end of Kalakaua by foot because the entire road is shut down. And oh my goodness, walking through that crowd with Kelly Boy DeLima is the hardest and most impossible thing. But I remember him just, if I get there at 8:30, I get there at 8:30. If I don't, then I'm going to start late, you know, and that's what it is. But I'm not going to snob all these hundreds of people on my way to getting to the other stage. These are the people that's going to show up at my stage, you know? And that was his mindset the whole time, is like very genuine, very good intentions behind everything. And I would definitely say that is my favorite thing about my dad, but also something that I've also, you know, because my dad is that way, we, his children, have been held to a higher standard, you know, to be that same light. And so at times it can be overwhelming. When you're just not feeling like it, you know, those days I hope I can stay indoors, but sometimes you just can't, and you've got to put the face on and you've got to do the thing. But all in all, I think, if you can just be that person and be that light, you don't know, you know, whose day you're going to make and how that's going to impact the person. Like I said, that guy who told me that my dad had performed and made him feel like he knew who he was. This concert was years ago. I mean, maybe 40 years ago. I don't know. It was in Punaluu on the Big Island. And he remembered that about my dad 40 years later, you know? And for me, it just resonates with me of how one interaction with a person changes everything. It changes not only how they look at you, but it changes how they view your child, you know, who was me. And immediately the guy like loved me because he loved my dad because of one sentence my dad told him 40 years ago, you know. And it's stuff like that that I am very grateful for my dad being that way. And it reminds me that, you know, we should all try to be a little bit kinder. Yeah.
Because he's had such a big impact on Hawaii. Mm-hmm. And, you know, from what it sounds like, what you're saying is that he's holding himself accountable to all of his fans. Yeah. You know, and he's being very responsible to that because, like you said, those are the people that are coming to watch him. Yeah. And in like this modern day of like sports athletes and multimillionaire, you know, Instagram models and, you know, followers and whatever you want to call them, a lot of those people are losing that point. You know? Like I hate when I'm watching a football game or basketball game and you see like the guys going to the locker room and you see all the fans like holding out their hands to get a high five or something. The guys are just walking by. Yeah. It's like, these are the kids and adults that are paying for your salaries. Yes. Like hold yourself accountable to them. Yeah. And some athletes are really great at it. Mm-hmm. And some are just snob them off. Yeah. You know, so it sounds like your dad is very much on the right side of that. And is imparting that upon you. And, you know, I hope that more people see that kind of thing and me too, follow in those kind of footsteps. I feel like kindness is really a culture in itself, and it's contagious. I feel like, you know, if you can impart that on someone else, you just made their day, and they'll probably go around and make somebody else's day, you know. And it's something that doesn't cost any money.
It doesn't really cost much more time than you would have already given that person. Nor does it cost any more energy. It's a decision in your mind of who you want to be and how you want to change the world. And really that quote that says, like the changing the world, it starts with you. And it really does. And it's small actions like that are just contagious. I mean, a little goes a long way. I feel like now more than ever, just, even smiling at somebody, I feel like, well, you can't really smile at anyone.
We're wearing masks.
I know. Yeah. Smize with your eyes, I guess.
I find that I squint my eyes. I'm like,
yeah. Isn't that so weird? I'm like, I hope I'm smiling because my eyes just went like a third in size, but I am.
It's like what do you call that eye smile?
Yeah, smize.
Smize. Okay, that's good.
Smizing. Yeah. I've seen a lot more waving because then it's more like a physical, like, hi, I'm acknowledging you and I'm really smiling, but you can't see it. Yeah.
Yeah, we need those new LED masks that like mimic your smiles and stuff.
Right, or like a clear one where you can see it.
No, I want the LED one.
Okay.
Yeah, I want one that looks like a monkey mouth.
Yeah, that already has the smile on it, so then you don't have to do any of the work.
Yeah,
you can save your face muscles.
Yeah, because I'm getting older and getting wrinkles and stuff. So, are you from Hilo?
No, I'm from Kaneohe.
You're from Kaneohe. Okay, yeah. Kaneohe girl.
Yes.
What are you dissatisfied with about Hawaii, and what do you think you can do to help bring about change in that direction?
Yeah. Oh, where do we even begin with this topic? No, I'm just kidding.
The music? No.
Oh. I would say the number one thing, especially during this pandemic, that I think we've all learned, is how little we can sustain ourselves in this state, and how much that needs all of our full attention, just being able to be sustainable here in Hawaii. I think a couple years ago I did a video shoot and we did Hawaii 78, the song, and our scene, it was a video with a collaboration of artists under a project with Palena Ole, but our specific scene, they threw us up on Young Brothers shipping containers in right here down at the harbor. And the message that they were trying to talk about was sustainability in Hawaii, and the fact that 85 to 90% of our food is imported from the mainland. And, recently I've been spending a lot more time on the Big Island, and I've been able to see firsthand how rich our land really, truly is. We have the best conditions in the world to be growing our own food. We have sun year round. We have rain year round. We have this great soil where honestly, there are just some things you can throw in the ground and it'll grow just on its own.
I mean, traditionally we grew sugar and then pineapples, and we exported that throughout the world.
Yeah.
So we can do it.
Yes. And I've witnessed firsthand and seen firsthand a lot of these farmers right down the road from where I am in Waimea who are thriving, and they are producing vegetables and fruit for, not just our state, but for out the world as well. And I think a lot of people don't realize how many cattle ranches we have in Hawaii as well, which is a huge market, especially on the Big Island, where, they're able to raise grass-fed organic beef right there on the Big Island. But the issue is that we don't have enough processing facilities here in Hawaii. And so all of these cattle are being shipped to the mainland, processed in the mainland, and then shipped back to Hawaii. And this is stuff that could happen right here in our state, where we could be producing and processing our own meat. We could be processing all of our own fruits, all of our own vegetables. None of it really has to be imported in. But for some reason, we just don't have the warehouses or the processing facilities that we need in order to do that. And, I feel like that would be a huge opportunity for our economy to grow. I think during the pandemic, we've noticed how reliant we are on tourism, to the point where like it's just desperate, to get back to tourism, but not even realizing how our local businesses could really jumpstart our economy. It could really be the number one thing that we rely on is, in Hawaiian, history, they had this bartering where they had people who lived by the ocean, people who lived up in the mountain, and they would trade. It was, I fish, you grow kalo, and when I catch, I give you, and when you harvest, you give me. And it was this whole thing, and it worked, and in Hawaii, I'm not saying it has to be like the same, like, I'm going to go catch fish and you give me kalo or whatever.
To do it in a modern sense.
But yeah, in that kind of thinking, it's that thing where, I do this thing and you do this thing, and in our economy it works, and that's how we sustain ourselves. So if there's anything in Hawaii that I think we could change, it's that. And it really does come back to kind of what I'm passionate about with community and being, involved in our community. And for me, I feel like we have come into this place where it's so hard to be happy for the other person. And I don't know if this is like a small town like mindset thing or if this happens all over the world, but I feel like in Hawaii, in order to be any kind of successful, you've got to have like a side hustle, because the cost of living is so high. And so I know a lot of my generation, millennials, and even, before me, who are entrepreneurs in their own sense. They own their own businesses and they're successful doing whatever they do, whether it's real estate or hair or makeup or whatever it is, performing. And I think something that would help boost our economy is supporting one another as well. And, giving that work to, or that business to your girlfriend who makes keychains, or, your other friend who does like cupcakes, and just that kind of culture, rather than, seeing that, oh, so-and-so just tried to start a new business and 2 years ago she couldn't even, like draw, and now all of a sudden she's doing this thing. And I feel like there's kind of that, vibe throughout our community, and it's sad.
There's like a negative vibe towards people starting a business. Yeah,
I think a lot of times maybe it's just like it. I see it a lot in our community where we'll see someone's success and not wish them the best. And I think my mom kind of like talked about it. I remember when we were growing up, and it was like the ama crab syndrome. She used to tell us the story, and like something about the ama crabs, which are those crabs on the rocks at the beach, where if you stick them all in a bucket, one of them will try to crawl out, and while it's crawling out, the others will like pull it down to bring it back down. And pretty much the premise of her telling us that story is that, people will do that, where right when you're like crawling out of the bucket, they'll start pulling you down.
Why is that?
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
I mean, we do encounter that, and that is a big topic of discussion that holds people back from even starting to go after their goals or their dreams. They get the feeling that they're going to either fail or be a disappointment to other people.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can still have to try.
Yeah. And I think for certain people too, there's always the hope that they'll fail, which, I is something that I wish we could, and I hope we can change. And I feel like the more we all do it, where, I promote this thing, or, I feel like social media makes it so much easier, where it's like, you don't even have to give them your business. You could really support them by just reposting their post, or whatever it may be.
Or subscribing to my channel.
Right. Exactly that. Subscribe. And it's little things like that. It's a click of a button, and all of a sudden you're supporting a business, and if you're lucky, you're supporting a business that supports other businesses, which is, how we sustain ourselves. And it brings me back to like what I wish we could change is sustainability, is being able to have this thriving economy with just us. Like we can do this on our own, you know? And it goes hand in hand, all of it, I feel like. And if there's anything I can change, see, I told you, like, where do we even start? There's so much. But yeah, if there's one thing I could change, there was 10.
Grow your own food, Hawaii.
Yeah.
Start growing your own food.
Grow your own food and be nice.
Support local.
Support local.
Yeah.
Yes.
And support your fellow neighbors and family members as they try to start businesses and stuff like that. Because then it'll make it so much easier for them to start business and become successful. Like, as you said earlier in the episode, building someone else's success makes you also successful.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. The competition is collaboration over competition always. And, you know, I recently ran into a friend at the bank who just told me that they were moving to Georgia. And he explained to me that the cost of living is too high, and he and his dad would have to move. And his dad has lived in their house for 50 years. And, you know, he told me this whole story, and he didn't mean to, you know, like make me sad or whatever, but he was just trying to, you know, like tell me I'm never going to see you again. Probably I'm moving to Georgia. And, you know, it just made me think of everyone else who has grown up here. This is their home, and pretty much they're being, you know, forced to leave whenever like something happens, whether it be medical or, you know, a lot of unemployment happening. And so just small things like that, where he was like, you know, it's so much cheaper to live there and we can sustain ourselves there, and it just makes all around more sense. And then his dad, right before they left, he was like, I don't want to leave. You know, it's my home, but, you know, I have to. And I just like, I felt like so desperate to try and make sure I never have to hear that again, you know? And, you know, if this is your home after 50 years, I can't even imagine not being able to, you know, live out the rest of my life here. And, you know, I think it starts there, where it's a community thing. It goes back to sustainability and just supporting your friends and in whatever capacity you can.
Yeah, because I think there was a recent report that a family of 4 that makes less than $90,000 a year is low income.
Yes.
That's insane.
I know.
And it's like about $10,000 higher than it was the last time they did the report. That's not sustainable.
Yes.
I mean, because it's only going to keep going. That dollar amount is only going to keep going up. People's salaries and how much money they make, it's not keeping up.
Yeah. Cost of living is only going up. It's everything.
I didn't understand that. How did the cost of living go up during the pandemic?
In the pandemic.
It should have tanked.
I know.
Nope.
I know.
Something else is amiss.
Yes. Yeah. It is like the best time ever, apparently, to like buy and sell.
Oh, it's the best time to sell your home.
To sell.
Which is weird.
To sell.
Like it should be I would have expected it to be the opposite way around.
Well, buyers, because the interest rates are so low, but then sellers as well, because it's just like the hottest, anything on the market is like the hottest thing on the market.
One of my friends is selling his house just because of the market.
Yes.
Like, he doesn't need to, just wants to.
Yeah.
And buy into a new home.
Yeah. Everything is selling way higher than
so
average.
Weird.
I know. Who would have thought
It's like toilet paper, right? It's just like gone.
Yep. Exactly like toilet paper. Yep.
That was insane when this pandemic first hit and they were like, everybody buy toilet paper. And
I know.
What?
I know.
Why?
With everything that has happened in 2020, I swear I'm still holding a grudge against how everybody was acting back in March with the toilet paper situation.
Seriously. I could understand the hand sanitizer. I can understand the wipes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Toilet paper?
Seriously.
It's not that kind of disease.
I know.
It's not that kind of virus.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it was a stomach virus, stomach flu,
You're right.
I would totally get it. Hey, buy out the toilet paper.
And baby wipes.
What?
And soap.
And lots of soap.
Yeah.
But it attacks your lungs. Why are you buying toilet paper?
I don't know. Thankfully, I bought toilet paper 2 weeks prior just because I needed it. And so I didn't have to deal with that for like months until they finally restocked all the shelves. But till this day, Costco is like one per.
They ration toilet paper.
Yes.
That's insane. That's 2020 for you.
I know. I know. But the tequila, you can buy as many bottles as you'd like.
Well, I mean, you have to have the good with the bad, right?
Yeah, it's all a balance thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Any last words before we go out?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for coming out here.
I'm really excited. This is my very first podcast.
Woo-hoo. Mine too.
I hope not my last. Yeah, sure. But no, yeah, I think I'm very grateful to be at this point in my life. I hope, whoever is listening, and I hope it's a million of you out there listening, that if you take anything from this, it's just to be a nice person, be a kind human, especially in these times. I think everyone could just use that feeling of family, community, a smile through your mask. We can feel it. We can feel it through your mask. But, at the end of the day, I just hope we all...
Smize.
Yeah.
Smize.
Yes, that one. I hope we all come out of this, and, it's going to be a community thing, but I hope we all come out of this a little bit more grateful, a little kinder, and understanding that we all really do have, a place and a part, and even the smallest thing makes a big difference.
Yeah, I definitely think that the world as a whole has changed.
Mm-hmm.
And in some aspects, it's gotten smaller because of technology and Zoom and WebEx and stuff like that, and being able to communicate with people, real time.
Yeah.
On the other side of the planet. I think that's kind of cool. So I hope that you and Kapena spread your wings, and because there's Hawaiians all over this planet.
Yeah.
Spread your wings to them.
Yeah.
All right. KALENAKU, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Yeah.
And as always, stay happy, Hawaii. Got to throw the shaka.
Stay happy, Hawaii.